Ball Facts coming back at you again, and we gonna give you the facts. Okay, family, today I got a special treat for y'all. I got Devan, the social media coordinator for the JBA Seattle team, here with me, and we're gonna do an interview. He's got a lot of insight on some things that went down, so I'm gonna ask him some questions. How you doing today, Devan?
Man, I'm doing great, Ball Facts, man.
How did you make the contact to even get this job with the JBA?
Well, so I went to the JBA Seattle game. It was 2 games up in Seattle. And while I was there, I talked to LeVar and I talked to Allen. And they had a couple like social media sites that were running on Instagram. And I just told them, I could do it better. I do like little highlight videos and a couple cool little graphics here and there. And they told me to run with it. And that's how I started. What
kind of allured you to the position? Why would you want to work for a Big Baller Brand in any capacity?
I started following the boys, man, when they was in Chino. And I loved the movement. I seen the vision and the big picture of what they were trying to do. And I think that's lost on a lot of people. It's real easy to just go and be, a cog in a big company versus, us as a culture, having ownership and like generational type wealth, man. So I was all aboard as soon as I, got hip to what they was doing. It was a pleasure.
A lot of people miss that. They think that, there's just a bunch of guys on the internet who just like LeVar and like the Suns, but it's bigger than that. It's about what they stand for. It's about what they're doing. This is the kind of thing that other men should look forward to doing with their sons, and not just sports or basketball, just in building their family in this type of model. So, do you think it was successful?
I think it was a pretty good success, for a startup league. I think, in retrospect, that they could have did a little better job, with some of the kinks, that they had, and getting it out, to the people, like more of I think they relied a lot on like social media presence, to try to bring people into the seats. But it was awesome for me, man. I loved it. I grew close to a lot of the players, and the biggest thing for me, man, it was a chance for people that didn't necessarily have that platform, or we're not a big school, or maybe their grades were bad, or, whatever the reason, I seen the vision of what LeVar was trying to do. And I feel like it's even, it still could be possible that it could still, go on.
Yeah, the vision was so big. It felt like a lot of people just felt that we got let down. When we heard there was an alternative route to professional basketball, it was like so many people in the hood, and not just the hood, just around the United States was like, man, we've been wanting somebody, because there's little bitty amateur pro teams around, but we've been wanting it done on a big scale so it could happen. We all got a cousin, or we knew somebody in high school was like, dang, they needed a shot. They didn't get a shot. So it just gave people hope. Even though social media is great, do you think they could have done more advertising to get people in the seats? Just something more than just social media.
Yeah, definitely, man. They didn't do a lot of stuff, man, that they could have done, which I don't blame them per se, because, it is a business and it does cost money, because they were getting these big arenas, like NBA size arenas, college size arenas. So I just feel like if they would have done a little things here and there, like, maybe some radio ads, like having some people in these cities, that are really cool with the brand and believe in the vision, that they could be like the ground game. Those are only little things here and there, man, that could have made it, way bigger than it was.
I totally agree. I got a whole video on my channel. If you guys that are listening haven't seen it, go see my video on the JBA. I got a couple suggestions that I think would have made the league successful. But when you said you met Allen, you met LeVar, did you deal with them after you met them the first time? Did you have any contact with them ongoing?
Yeah, so after a while, I first met them in Seattle, and then I went out after I was working their page for a while. I started flying out to where they was at, and they started noticing me more and more and more and more. And then finally, I ended up exchanging numbers with Allen, And it pretty was clear, LeVar was, kind of like the face spokesman, and Allen was like, the business guy. He handled all the payroll and stuff like that. And so we exchanged numbers, and we had a plan. When they came back for the second season, Allen wanted it to be more successful, get more people. And so, we had kind of coordinated that, but we seen how that worked out. There hasn't been a season 2.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask you about Allen. What was your first impression of him when you met him?
Man, I thought he was a cool guy. He seemed cool. He took pictures with like my little brothers and whatnot, and was real cordial, nice, polite, guy. He was real short, and he took time to, acknowledge all the fans that were there, took pictures. I never would have thought in a million years that, what happened.
Okay, now, did you notice anything shady going on with Allen at any point at the time that you worked for him?
Yeah, actually, when a lot of the players were upset they weren't getting paid, I was standing right there when a lot of the players went up to Allen, and, Brandon Willis and his mom went up to Allen, and, his mom was letting them know, hey, my son hasn't got paid and whatnot. And Allen was, had every excuse in the book, but he disappeared somewhere and came back with, $20,000-$30,000 in cash and paid a whole bunch of players. And I just thought that was a little odd,
That's really odd.
Yeah, that you got a bag like that just somewhere sitting. So obviously he had access to money at any given time. So it could be easy for him to, siphon off money. That's one thing that stood out to me.
Because checks, if you do a check, it'll leave a trace, and we can see follow the money. But if you're dealing in cash like that, and he supposedly, is the businessman and has the business mind and knows how to do it correctly, something was off, because he should know about checks versus cash.
Definitely. And that I know that they dealt with a lot of cash, because at all those games, they had a pop-up shop. And I was at, 5-6 games, and I seen all their merch get sold. We talking about, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of merch, shoes, hats, everything. And so I know they had a lot of cash on hand. So I could easily see how somebody could siphon off some money.
Now, they just re-released the merchandise on their site. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's actually looking dope. I did notice, Melo and Zoe aren't on there. They got the Zoe shoes, but they don't have no Melo shoes. So that was a little concerning for me, man, because I do want to see them stick together.
Yes, and so with the site coming out and there being no MB1s on there, and then the recent Facebook episode, it's very alarming and concerning to a lot of us out here.
Yeah, for real, man. I'm with y'all, man. I want to see Melo and Zoe stick it out, man, because when the lights were bright and you was on ESPN every other day and you was all over social media and it was at the highest time, y'all was down. So when it's hard, you got to keep that same energy. You feel me?
Exactly. And I think LiAngelo learned something about that since he went through his ordeal in China about being down and his father still holding him down during that time. Now, with the release, since you being, a social media coordinator, do you think they released it correctly? Do you think they could have did more advertising? Do you know what I'm saying? Are they doing it better this time? Or do they still need somebody like you to come in and help them?
I'm not, I'd have to talk to them and figure out what's going on. Because what I think, this is just my speculation, is what I think they're doing is kind of just making sure there's no bugs and whatnot before they come out and say it. Because if they come out and say it and there's problems with the website, the media is going to kill them. So
that's a good point.
I think that's what they're doing is, they put it out low key and they're going to make sure there's no problems and whatnot.
But I'm glad to see them back up and running. And I think everybody was so acting weird about the Big Baller Brand, the first website, still going to Allen. And they're like, oh, did you see that? don't you know Allen has every password for every internet site, for every this, for every that they don't have? So the fact that he was in control of the website and it went to his page, that was like a no-brainer to me, and how he did it. And it wasn't a big deal. I mean, the guy was running everything. So, of course. And then there was a lot of speculation like they weren't going to release until the court stuff was done. But LeVar seems to be so confident that Allen forged documents and everything he's saying is hogwash that he's just ready to release right now and worry about the court stuff later because he thinks he has all the proof and the facts.
You know, I never in a million years could see LeVar stealing from his own, you know. Like everybody, everything I read in that, you know, in the Allen's case and whatnot, it looks like all stuff we've known, like the mansion and the stuff they have. Like, it's like, what do you know? We can't think like Zoe didn't know his dad's building an estate, you know. So
right,
you know, it's like it wasn't like they built it in secret. Zoe on a lot of these episodes, he's right there in the house. Not like he, you know, was
exactly
pay for that. You know, like
they're not hiding he put it in a song, "Bought my mama house." Come on now,
you know. So I think Allen's acting like a bit of a girl you had to cut off. You know, they try to hack your Instagram and all that. So you know, we'll see how it plays out. But you know, I'm confident, man, that you know the Ball family's gonna come out looking clean, and Allen's just gonna look like a hater.
I'm confident too. And I believe that everybody, they trip and say, oh, that's all Lonzo money LeVar is spending. If you come up with a plan and say, I'm going to invest all this time, all this energy into you, and when we get the first bag, we're going to split it up like this. You're going to give this to me so I can do this. Business deals get cut like this all the time. So this should be even better because it's a father and a son. Ain't nothing wrong with this. The fact that Lonzo gets his first contract, his first bag, and a lot of it goes to the house where all of them are going to go and eat Thanksgiving, the house to where, you know, his mom and his pops live. That's just only right. So the fact that people try to act like he's spending Lonzo's money, that is just asinine, it's ignorant, and it's just like the mind of the low class. And it's you're never going to get out of your class until you take the mind of that class out of you. You're going to have to get a different mindset first in order to come out. But people don't get that. Exactly.
And what baller out there that ever came in the league that didn't buy their mom or dad a house and a car? You know, like that's not nothing point. New. That's nothing new. You know, all these players come in and that's the one thing they want to do is buy their mom a house or their dad a house. And none of them players have a business where their dad and mom is bringing in money. So let's not act like Big Baller Brand wasn't making money hand over foot. Even what was her name? Ramona Shelburne said, you know, they was making sales. So I seen it firsthand. So
yes. And the thing is, if the money's missing and now they have no receipts, no tracking of it, then it has to fall back on who was managing the money. And so I can't wait till they get past it, because honestly, I feel like if you watch any of Allen's videos, he's just trying to stop the ball that's rolling. Like the ball is going down the hill and he's trying to stand in front of it. And he's just got to move or else he's going to get rolled over, because the family, they have a recipe for success. They're going to be successful in some capacity. We don't know if it's going to be together, separate, some together, and how it's all going to shake out. But that's what keeps us on pins and needles, waiting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I have no doubt, man, even no matter what happens with Allen and them, you know, the facts are going to come out. Like you say, the facts, they're going to come out, you know. So, you know, in open court, we're going to see who's really real and who's lying. And honestly, you know, we're going to see.
It's so crazy. I think it caught all of us off guard. We just thought they were thick as thieves, tight brothers. And it's a shame that with so much potential that this would happen.
You know, with the Ball family, you get a lot of the media that wants to just see him fail, and they'll put anything out, whether it's not true, to kind of diminish what they're doing. So at first I didn't want to believe it. And then I seen the lawsuits and whatnot. So, you know, I'm just kind of looking like how y'all looking and wishing it didn't happen and wishing it wasn't true. But something definitely went down.
Yeah, so you ended up out of that job. And I'm sure some of these guys in the JBA had to feel like Some of them were okay because they went on to do other things with professional basketball, but I'm sure some people were salty. Were you one of those salty people?
No, I wasn't salty. I was just disappointed, from the fact that I love the league and I love the brand, and I care about the family, and I wanted to see him win, so I kind of was like, dang, that all that pressure, and, because I don't know if you noticed this, man, but it seems like a lot of the media, just wants to attack them and tear down what they're doing. So it kind of was like, man, they got him,
Yeah, and I can't understand how people don't see this. It's clear cut that they don't want this family to win. It's just, it is what it is. Like, if you can't see that, then you are blind or brainwashed. Have you talked to any JBA players after it went down?
Yeah, I was real close with a lot of players. I pretty much was making a lot of mixes, like highlight tapes for a lot of players, probably, 40 or 50 of them. And it took a lot of time, man. So I kind of really got close to all these players, like what kind of music they liked. And a lot of them have my phone number still. And I talk to a lot of them still, like Brandon Willis and ISO Rel. I talk to them all the time. They're over there in Georgia. I talked to a lot of the players still, and a lot of them were upset. I got a lot of messages. A lot of the players didn't know what was going on. They were up in the air. A lot of them were, made plans to, a lot of them put everything they had. A lot of them gave up eligibility. So I don't blame them. There was a lot of players that were upset.
And that's what we kind of don't get to enough, because Allen, he's over in Bora Bora smiling and making videos. So he seems like he's okay in some sort. LeVar and the boys, they're going to be fine. They don't have to work again in their lives. But the people who really get hurt is the rest of us who were looking at the brand as more than just a brand, looking at the family as more than just a family. Like, they were an example. They stood for something. They still do. And these people who let go of jobs, who let go of school and went to play in this league, they believed, they gave it a chance, and it crumbled right before them. And there are ramifications to do with that, and so now people are like, who's to blame for this? Do you blame anyone, and if so, who do you blame?
Well, it's hard to blame anyone per se, but like Allen wants to say in all his videos, he's the one that he was the brain. So if you're going to blame anybody, you got to blame the brain, right?
Facts.
It's a shame, man, what he's doing, he's throwing their business out and whatever. I don't know what's true, what's not on a lot of that stuff, because that was, a long time ago. But yeah, man, I don't like what he's doing.
There's a lot that I do not know. So I only look at the facts of what I do know. His videos show all of the facts. So I comment on his commentary. So he'll go at this son, go at that son, go at LeVar, go at Tina. And then we talk about what would be the motive for you to try to tear a family down in public and humiliate them. And so that's why we come up with the belief. A lot of us have the belief that he did it, or he did something shady just because he's acting shady. But we don't know. And like, the guy is smart to a level. So you may never know if he has done the scam of the generation, but has all the paperwork behind him, surrounding him, and lawyers in between him. You can never get to him. A lot of people get away with a lot of things, and it doesn't mean they're innocent. It just means they got away with it. And so truthfully, we may never know, and we may never get to the bottom of what happened. But it's sad, because people like the JBA, and then you got people like me. People wonder why I came out with this channel, because while it was stagnant, Lonzo wasn't doing anything in the NBA yet. He was in the off season, still recovering. And people like me, who like the brand, like the family, decided to support. And so when supporting is not just smiling and watching their videos, no, it's in some type of way letting your voice be heard and known that you support the family. And so that's what this channel is about. Yeah, I've talked about Lonzo's problems he needs to work on. And yes, I highlight different things they do, but I still support the family. Now, let me ask you, will you still be a supporter if, let's say, Lonzo signs with Nike and LaMelo signs with Nike, then tomorrow they come out with a commercial together and it's called Moving On and Moving Up, and they show them together, dribbling together, and it's like Nike?
Oh, man, that that would definitely disappoint me, man, if they did something like that. Yeah, man, they got a fan of me for life, man. I regardless of if the boys stay with it or not, the Triple Bs, man, that it's still a thing for me, that on the fact that they, are for the culture, man. And I want to see more folks that look like us, man, that own stuff and be able to pass it down to our kids, so that's big with me. So regardless of Melo and Zoe, I've been watching a lot of the episodes lately, and it looks like, they may be leaning. And if you get offered 100 M's and a jet, it's pretty hard to turn down. But I'd hope that they wouldn't do no commercials like that, man, with it.
It's like people say everyone has a price, and most of the time that's true. And so I hope that's not their price. I mean, and it really comes with what we're taught, our education. There's families that have had monies for generations and generations going back 1,000 years, and they have taught their children the value of making your own money, not taking it from someone else. And so where we, as just people down here in the middle or lower class, would see $100 million as, whoa, that value is huge. Just because you had to take it for somebody else and sign a contract, and now you can't do this, and you can only do this, and you can't wear that. We don't see the value of giving that away. In some respects, you give away some of your freedoms.
Like LeBron, like Jordan, they done sold how many shoes, and that Jordan just now became a billionaire. Think of if he would have came in with his own brand, he would probably be, in the trillions right now. So you got a point there. You got a point there.
He would be at the top of Forbes. He'd be looking at Bill Gates in the eye like, yeah, well, we do this.
Oh, definitely.
I appreciate you getting on here, and I appreciate you contributing and being a supporter and not just a fan. That's my new thing today. All this talk about fanboy, I'm cutting that out. You a fan or you're a supporter. We support. You saw two men doing something and you came up to them and said, I can help. I believe I can help. And you put in the work and you got rewarded for you. They brought you on the team, and things happen where now it's kind of collapsed. But with your mindset, it's only a matter of time. Shoot, me and you might get off this interview and we work on something, because like-minded people need to come together. That's what we need to learn. And all the Facts family, thanks for joining this interview. I'm going to put his Instagram in the description below, so go ahead and check that out. Other than that, I want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Ball Facts again. Peace.